Hi, I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is another beautiful day here in England. The sun is not shining on me, it's overcast, but still looks good to me. Still a beautiful day. I have no complaints about what the weather looks like here. So if you're new to this channel, if you're new to who I am, my name is Mac, 9B4M the family. My family and I, we moved from the US to the UK about 11 months ago at this point, and we just got back from about a month back in the US for a vacation, and we're kind of just returning back here to the UK, back to England, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be back. It was a bit of a reverse culture shock when we went to the US because things were so different. The smells were different. It was just really different. And I know people would say that, hey, didn't you live your whole life in the US? And that's true. But I've never been away for 11 months. And it was 11 solid months that we were away, and we get back. And so things were different. It took us a little while to get adjusted to that. And after being there for a while, we were excited to come back. One thing about it, we went in August, so it was really hot. I mean, it was hot. After living here for 11 months, we were more used to cooler, more just cooler temperatures where you end up wearing a light jacket, and you get back over there, and man, it was really hot. It was really hot, and so that took a bit of getting adjusted to. And after about a month of that, we were looking forward to coming back to this. So when I get back and the sun is not shining, but it's a bit cloudy and it's overcast and it's cool, to me right now, this temperature feels great. This feels really good. You can be outside and you're not sweating, because if you go back and look at some of the videos that I shot while I was there in the US, you'll see that I had sweat on my forehead, and every time I was outside and started moving around for a few minutes, it got hot. You had to kind of get out early in the morning before the temperature heated up in the middle of the day. So we're glad to be back. We're excited to be back in the UK. We were looking forward to coming back. And so some of the things that we've noted, of course, when we come back after being away for a little while, you start to note some of those differences. And the first one, of course, is the driving. It's on the other side of the road again. And so that was a quick adjustment. I mean quick, because as soon as you get behind that wheel and start driving, you have to flip your mind back over to adjust to where you're driving now. So being back here in England, we are now driving on the other side of the road from what I'm familiar with. But no problem. We've kind of got, my wife and I were both driving, so we're back to adjusted to that. That has worked out really well. But a bigger thing was that while we were in the US, of course, we were talking to friends, we were talking to family. I think we started to sound more American to people who are watching our channel. You listen to some of those videos. I saw in the comments people were saying, oh, you guys sound a little more American now. And I believe that's true. That always happened to me when I go to visit my family down in the South. And like Arkansas in the South down there, there's a different accent, different dialect, and so I always pick up some of that when I go back home. So I'm sure you probably heard some of that if you watched some of those videos from when we were there in the States. But now we're back here, and the first thing we noted is when we start talking to people, we can't understand them quite as well. So we started binge watching on Gogglebox to kind of get reacquainted with the British tones and the British sounds, to make sure that we are back familiar with listening to the tones that we're familiar with listening to. So that has helped out. Of course, we saw that there's been a couple of deaths in cast members on the show, and of course condolences to their family. Very sad to hear about that. But that is what we did to kind of get readjusted to the British tones and the sounds and the accents. We watched a lot of Gogglebox, which I love the show anyways. I've even done a short about how much I enjoy watching the show. So to me, Gogglebox is one of the most British things, and I know you may not agree, but that's just how I feel about it. I don't know if the show would work in the US, and even initially for me, I didn't think I would like the show. I was like, oh, let me give it a shot, and it grows on you. It's not so much about what the show is about, but it's about the cast, right? You get to enjoy like the families, and you start to connect to the individuals and their take on things. And I think that's what we come to enjoy about the show. But I use that as a way to readjust to listening to the British tones. Of course, I watch a lot of British YouTubers. A lot of them are based out of London, and that's a popular London accent or a Cockney accent, and those accents are just different. That's not what I hear on a regular basis, on a daily basis, when I'm talking to people, I'm here in the Midlands, and so the accent I hear is entirely different than, of course, that London accent. And so I don't, a lot of times when I'm talking to people here, to me, it doesn't even sound like there's much difference in the tones, and I guess I've just gotten a bit used to it. But when you're thinking about the popular London accent or the Cockney accent, I love hearing it. And but that's just, I listen to it, but those are not the tones, and those are not the people that I'm talking to on a regular basis, because we're not in London. So it doesn't do me a lot of good as far as being able to adjust to the local community. Of course, my youngest is going to be starting school. The other kids are in school, of course, but my youngest is going to be starting school. He's going into reception, and we're very excited about that. He starts next week, and the way they're doing it here is different. So on the first day he goes for 1 hour a day, and then the next day he goes for 2 hours a day, and then it incrementally over 2 weeks he works from being like 1 hour a day up to a full day at school. And so my wife and I are going to have to adjust our work schedules to accommodate this, and we're not used to that, because in the US, when your kids start, even if it's what I think, so reception here would be equal to like a pre-K program, but when they start, you just take them, you drop them off the first day, and that's it. It isn't this kind of where they're kind of working them into it, which I like the idea of it. It's not that I'm against the idea, and it definitely helps, I think, with the children in their transition out of coming from like home into a school environment, an entirely different environment. So I can understand it. And I was told that pre-COVID that the teacher would actually come and visit the child in their home before school would start. And so there's a lot of care being taken there to ensure that your child has a smooth transition. So we're looking forward to that. Our other children are older, so they started straight into their classrooms, but our youngest here is going to be starting, and we're really excited about that. Of course, we hear more British accent with him than the other kids, and I'm looking forward to it, because I'm pretty certain that as soon as he gets going in school, he's going to take on a lot more British tones, and I'm going to hear a lot more of a British accent out of him, considering he's only 4 years old. So he's still in that spongy stage to where you're going to hear it very quickly, where it's going to shift. One of the things was when we were traveling and we were flying from London back to Washington, D.C. for our vacation, we were standing in line. Of course, there were a lot of other families traveling with us as well. Not with us, but they were just on the plane and they were traveling. And it was so interesting because all of the parents sounded like me, right? They had American accents, and all of the kids had British accents, which is really cool. So I thought that was kind of funny that all the parents sounded like they were talking American, all the kids had a British accent. But that goes back to the environment of them being younger, and of course you adjust harder when you're younger, and you're just kind of a sponge and you're just soaking it all up. So I think my older kids, as time goes on, we're going to get them in swim class in the town where we live here. They're going to get in swim class, and we're going to kind of just continue to immerse them into the local community. So I think over time we'll hear a lot more of those tones from our older children as well. But I'm definitely expected to hear that from the youngest here over the next few weeks and throughout this, starting his school year. I'm definitely expecting to hear a lot more of that. So there's one thing that I hate that we missed it while we were gone the month of August. And so I was told that there was going to be a sheep show where people are going to come together and bring all the sheep. As you know, I like sheep. We have sheep here, and so I enjoy the sheep. And I hate that I missed that while I was back in the States. Back in the States, I also hate that we come back right before all of the fall state fairs will start. Like there's the county fairs, and then there's the state fairs. This is where this is where you have the largest pumpkins and the largest watermelons, and you're familiar with how the fairs work. And of course there's the carnival style games that are set up, and so we love going to the state fair, and like the Virginia State Fair, the Maryland State Fair, the Delaware State Fair, of course the Texas State Fair, and the Arkansas State Fair. If you hear a trend, I enjoy going to state fairs every single year. I don't always get a chance to make it to all of them, but it was something that my wife and I did after we got married. One of the first things we did was, it wasn't a honeymoon, but one of the first activities after we got married was to go together to a state fair. And of course, before we got married, we went to a lot of state fairs as well. So, do they have those here in the UK? Please comment down below in the comment section and let me know if they have something like large county fairs, and that's like what I'm talking about. I know in Germany, I went to what was basically Oktoberfest. I was in Stuttgart, and we went to Oktoberfest there. It had a different name. I can't remember the exact name, and I can't pronounce the German name for it. But we get there, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be Oktoberfest, and we pull up and we go there, and it was great. And it was like this is just a large state fair. You know, there was a Ferris wheel, there was carnivals, there was cotton candy, and then there was the beer halls. Those are not like the American state fairs, but the beer halls are really nice. And so comment in below and let me know if we can do something like that here in the UK. I presume that there's something similar, but I'm unaware. So if you can educate me and help me out, let me know in the comments below if there's some state fairs or county fairs, since you don't have the states. Are there county fairs or district fairs or something that we can go to that I can take the kids to and have a good time? I hate that I missed the sheep show. I love those type of things, but we did miss that. And I'll look to see if there's some others. Also, if you know of anything else, like I love livestock. I did a video recently about a farm, a couple of videos. I did a live on our family farm. I ran a farm also when I was, before we moved over here, my wife and I, we had our own farm. We did cattle. We had cattle, pigs, sheep. Well, we didn't have sheep. We had cows, pigs. Ducks, chickens, and a couple other odds and end animals running around, a couple of geese. And so we had a farm for about 8 years. And so we sold our farm when we moved over to the UK, and that was hard. But we took all the things from our family farm that we had and we shipped them all down to Arkansas, 1,000 miles away, to the family farm that my family farm there down in Arkansas. So we tried to save as much of it as we could to keep that alive. So I come from a farming family. I live now here on a farm, and so I just enjoy that. So if anyone is aware of any type of like sheep shows or anything like that or something like that, I'm really interested in those type of things as well. So we're back. We're glad to be back. We're excited about the opportunities that's here in the UK. We're looking forward to traveling. We made it up to Scotland. Of course, we definitely still have to get to Wales. We're looking to get down to southern England, to Cornwall, and some of the other areas that we haven't made it yet. I have a list of places from the comments and recommendations from a lot of you all that's left comments about great places to go and visit, great places to go and eat. And so we're looking forward to that. But we're glad to be back in the UK, glad to be back in England. So that's all I have right now. Hope you follow along. If you like what we're doing and you kind of enjoy going along with us on some of our adventures, then please like and subscribe and just kind of come along with us. And if you have any suggestions, just drop those down into the comments below. Until the next time, take care.